This video contains fictional depictions of blood and gore and mentions of cannibalism. Oh yes. I've been obsessed with these types of videos lately, like how long could you survive in Super Mario 64? Or how long can you live in Super Mario Sunshine? Lots of Mario now that I think about it. And it instantly inspired me to do the same with Half-Life, because while it's realistic enough, there's still a lot of room for interpretation. My question is, how long could we survive in each chapter, given all the resources that are available? We are a regular human adult, so just go on without the suit. We have no other equipment and have to use what's around us. Nothing respawns, so once it's gone, it's gone. The world doesn't change either, so Black Mesa doesn't get nuked after 3 days, and the Combine never invade. However, food can spoil as long as we interact with it. Anything else stays exactly the same. Oh, and we can't leave the chapter we're in. So, which chapter is the best to live in? Can we just survive or even live somewhat comfortably? This isn't going to be super scientific, I'm just gonna be eyeballing things. At the end, I'll be ranking all of the chapters. Before we begin, a hearty thanks to Giddy30 and Cyrus for being my scribes for this one. Now, let's start with Chapter 3 Unforeseen Consequences. Yes, we're skipping the first two. We can't leave the tram, and anomalous materials is just the same as Chapter 3, just worse. Plus, it's just more fun this way. Now, there may be a catastrophe going on, but we don't care. We need food and water. Specifically the latter, because if we don't drink something at least every 3 days, we're toast. In the break room there's 2 vending machines, both of which dispense 5 cans of soda and one around 30 or more if we break it. Altogether, these should last us around 1 to 2 weeks. In the changing room nearby is also a sink full of water, which increases the time by another 2 or 3 days. As we can't interact with the tap, this is all we get. The rest of the water is just sewer sludge, which you can definitely drink until the day you die. That day is just going to come a lot sooner. We could, however, put some of it inside Gordon's thermos, build a water purifier with some cloth taken from the scientist uniforms and charcoal from burnt crates, and then boil it using the microwave. Just stay away from the broken door. However, the water in these pipes doesn't look half bad. Sure, it's implied to be sewage, but I'd say it's fine. If the texture is clear and blue, then it'll do. If it's murky or brown, you're in diarrhea town. So honestly, we're set for life. As for food, there's the ruined lunch, which isn't much. But luckily, there's other options. As shown in Half-Life 2, you can eat head crabs, even if they don't taste like crabs. And there's plenty around, especially at the Akira elevator. You can definitely eat about 1 per day, so this would last you a good few months. The hound eggs and bull squid in the area have as much meat on them as a small pig, so each of them could last you around a month. There's even some barnacles, which are hard to get, but can feed you for maybe a week. Our best bet is the Vortigaunt though, which is human size. As a slave, there's probably not much meat on those bones, but let's assume one can last us around 1 to 2 months. And finally, there's the zombies, which are inedible unless you want to turn into one yourself, and the humans. Yes, we're resorting to cannibalism already. The corpses on the ground will spoil easily, but luckily, we can create our own. So let's add another 2 to 3 months to that. Since the food will rot, we need to find a way to safely prepare it. As long as there's wood, like from the crates, we can create a fire. But we don't even need to do that since there's a microwave. The only problem is holding all the meat over to it every time, unless we just take a few chunks off. Which would lead to the rest boiling even faster. Our diet will also be very limited, as we wouldn't get all the nutrients we need just from head crabs. So all in all, you could probably survive a good few years here, maybe around 2 to 4, give or take. Not an awful start. Next up is Chapter 4 Office Complex. This one starts off great, because there's a beautiful lounge at the start with sofas and even books to read. More importantly, however, is the soda machine, plus the snack dispenser. There's even some yummy bugs inside the candy machine, and if those aren't enough, there's plenty of scientists and even some barnacles. The soda machine only gives 5 cans, however, Dr. Newell's office has a running tap full of fresh, flowing water. So we're going to be 100% fine on that front. And if not, there's another soda machine later and even some coffee machines. What about food though? Well, the whole map is full of several types of aliens, some bugs, and of course humans. Heck, there's a bit over 15 Vortigons alone, so we're not going to go hungry. And that's not even accounting for the motherlode, the freezer. Not only are there massive slabs of meat bigger than a human, but even boxes upon boxes full of fruits and veggies. So you're not just going to be full, but also going to get those really important vitamins. More importantly, with this freezer, corpses aren't going to spoil as quickly. So we could just kill whatever we need and store it here, thawing it whenever we get hungry. And we're going to need to do that because while crates are abundant, we can't keep making fires forever. So we'll take any chance we get to reduce the amount of bacteria in our meals. All in all, you could not just survive here, but even live somewhat comfortably for around 10 to 15 years. Not bad for a bunch of officers. Chapter 5, we've got Hostiles is next, and this one's looking bleak. There are 2 soda machines at the start, giving around 30 to 40 cans each. There's also a puddle of water in front of the elevators, which could be soapy mop water, but I'm willing to say it's drinkable. However, this is all the fluids you're going to get across the entire chapter. You might be able to drain the aliens and humans of their blood and drink that, but without a freezer, it's going to spoil fairly soon. And with no other water sources available, it's also pointless to analyze how much food there is. Unfortunately, I believe we're going to be dead in less than a year. Man, who knew a giant warehouse full of shipping crates wouldn't have water everywhere? Next chapter, Blast Pit. Here, most liquids are radioactive and or sewer sludge, which you can drink if you're insane. Luckily, there's 2 exceptions. One is at the bottom of the titular blast pit, and while it's not infinite water, it could last us until we die of old age. Or rather, until we die of radiation poisoning, because the room before is highly contaminated. As seen by the corpses, we're going to last minutes here, if we're lucky. Even then, there's no way to climb back out the hole to go back to previous areas. And without food, that's bad. The other exception is another puddle of water in the hallway to the power supply. We could drink this and it might last a bit, but we don't need to. Because luckily there's some fresh water dripping out of the vents, which never runs out. Might be annoying to have to catch each drop in your mouth, but we can sustain ourselves on it forever. That is, if we last that long. We've got a good amount of the usual suspects of food here, all of which can last us a few years if we harvest them right. Or if we don't blow them up right away. To cook them, we could use some of the crates, or to make it even easier, just use the test fire. We don't even have to put the meat underneath the flame, as it burns stuff that's just in the area. And this brings us to the tentacles, the space calamari. This could definitely last us a lifetime, but there's a problem. We can't just nibble off a piece here and there, and if we kill all 3, they're going to all spoil at the same time. And even if we wanted to get to them, they're in the radioactive pit again. So, all in all, I'd say that we could survive around 2 to 3 years here, if we don't die from radiation-related issues beforehand. Chapter 7 Power Up is looking a bit better. There's a large pool of water at the bottom of the elevator, and even more in the room with the generator. That one might get pumped out if we activate it, but we can also just not do that. So we'll never die of dehydration. The water also contains some leeches, and together with the aliens and fresh marines, we've got a good meat supply. It'd be awesome if we could safely kill the Gargantua without exploding it, but that's just not happening. And look, there's even an infinitely burning gas pipe to cook our food on. The issue of hazardous environments rears its ugly head again, as many food sources are behind irradiated areas. Let's hope that we won't die from it in the next 3 to 4 years. Chapter 8 on a rail, the best part of the game, is next. Right at the start, there's a massive amount of fresh water, more than we'll ever need. The other water may be murky, but it also contains more leeches. And thanks to how insanely long this chapter is, we've also got copious amounts of hound eyes, bull squids, head crabs, Vortigons, and even some marines. So our diet is pretty varied and can last us around 4 to 5 years, maybe more. The only problem is cooking the food, as the wood will eventually run out, and we can't keep launching the rocket forever. but thanks to the trains, hauling materials and corpses around is easier than ever. And I mean, come on, we get to ride a train! That alone makes it worth it. Chapter 9 Apprehension. Good news, there's water everywhere. Bad news, it's all murky water. We could again filter and then distill it by boiling it, but I don't know how long that would take, especially since the wood is likely pretty wet. Considering how rusty this place is, I'd also say that the water is highly polluted, containing heavy metals that we can't filter. What about in regards to food? There's lots of leeches, barnacles, head crabs, houndites, and even some warts and humans. Plus, not 1, not 2, but 3 ichthyosaurs. Might be difficult to kill them, but with a trusty crossbow, it's not impossible. Just don't miss all your shots like I did. We could even freeze all the meat in the freezer at the end, which is even colder than the one at the start. The only problem is lugging all the corpses over there. I mean, how are we going to haul 3 of these beasts over these crushers? Plus, since we need to distill all our water, we're going to use up even more wood than normal. So, sorry, we're going to last maybe 1 to 2 years, maybe even less. Chapter 10 Residue Processing is next. In this one, we're going to be cancer mixing. The radioactive sewage is our main concern here, since it's the end of Blast Pit all over again. There's just no way an average human could survive all of this. And it's so sad because there's a couple of infinite fires in the area, so we could purify the murky water and cook our meals. But with all the sewage everywhere, I'd imagine food spoils way faster anyway. So either way, we'll be dead in less than a month, likely mere days. Yikes. The same goes for the next chapter, Questionable Ethics. I just like to refer to my scribe's notes. Yep, not a single drop of water. Even if we could kill all the humans and aliens to drink their blood, which would be extremely hard, we're dead in less than a month as well. But here comes Surface Tension, the second best chapter. Right away, there's a giant dam full of murky water. Damn! Even if we filtered it, all the good stuff is down the dam, meaning we couldn't go back up. But we don't need to. There's some water in the pipe with the C4 trap, even more water in these tunnels, and a giant water tank at the very end. All 3 are clear, all 3 are drinkable, all 3 can last us forever. When it comes to food, we're spoiled for choice. We're going to ignore everything up the dam as well, but luckily the rest of the chapter is full of hundreds of humans, Vortigons, head crabs, and even alien grunts. There's also another tentacle hidden in a secret room that we sadly can't kill, but we could munch on these cacti from time to time. Honestly, we could survive off all of this for years. The flames on the exploded tanks also never go out, so we never have to worry about cooking our food. But most importantly, the osprey in the TFC hunted section spawns 2 marines that rappel down. Okay, big whoop, that's not much. True. However, as long as we don't shoot it down, it does so forever. An infinite meat supply. Wouldn't even be hard hunting them, considering they drop ammo, we have the weapons depot nearby, and we could even lure them into the cannon's fire. The only problem with this chapter is that a lot of the maps are sectioned off. We can't get back up the dam, nor back through the booby trap warehouse. There's some holes and vents we can climb back into, but once we get to the infinitely spawning marines, some of the water is cut off from us. Our best option is probably just to go through the level like normal, eating everything as we go along, and then just stay at the end. If we really need to, however, I'm sure we can fashion a ladder out of the railings or use some crates as stairs. So this is the first chapter where we can survive indefinitely, though hilariously, only by resorting to cannibalism. Chapter 13, Forget About Freeman, is next. Right away, the sewers at the start are full of fresh water, so we're set for life. There's also quite a lot of leeches, aliens and humans, plus another ichthyosaur that we can kill using the rocket launcher. Not much wood to create fires, but the tank outside burns forever again. So we could live a few years here for sure. Oh boy, we're almost in Zen, but Lambda core is still in our way. There's lots of aliens here, even many humans. All in all, not a lot, but we could survive a few years off them. The only issue is lack of water again, because there's not a single drop here either. "Oh, but there's blue liquid everywhere and you said we could always drink that," you might say. True, but the game clearly states that this is coolant, not water. Not in our best interest to drink that. Furthermore, we're probably not even going to get to that point. Before we can even enter the Lambda labs, there's hordes of enemies in our way, and we have no weapons. We could sneak past the assassins, but getting past the alien grunts afterwards would be nigh impossible. I died countless times, and that is with weapons. So we're more likely going to last maybe a few hours here. And then there's Zen, you're dead. Yep, there's absolutely no way off this platform at the start. Remember, we have no equipment, so no long jump module. We could try to climb down the spires, but we can't even reach those. And even if we could, there are several other problems which apply to all the Zen maps. First, no drinkable water. The closest thing are the healing pools, but just because the liquid heals you, doesn't mean you should ingest it. Furthermore, we have zero ways to kill the aliens. Oh, we've got ammo, but no weapons. So yeah, the Nylanth has a lot of meat on its bones, but we can't actually kill it. Worst of all, however, there's no atmosphere. Without a suit and helmet, we cannot survive here. Yes, I subscribe to the idea that Gordon always wears a helmet. I mean, all the corpses you find here wear suits, and I doubt that this is some sort of survivorship bias where it's the suit that caused them to die. Even if we assume that the air is breathable, I don't think it's very healthy. I mean, we can survive being near hazardous waste pits in previous chapters, but breathing in whatever this is totally fine? Come on. This goes beyond suspension of disbelief. This is outright bending the rules. If only the atmosphere was a problem, maybe. But we'd still lack fire and water power. What? Jesus. But we'd still lack water and firepower. So Zen, Gonax Lair, Interloper and Nylanth are all completely impossible, and we die in mere minutes. Almost like it's an alien planet or something. And that's it. Here's all the chapters ranked in terms of survivability. Interestingly, there's no correlation between how urban an area is and how well we can live in it. Office Complex ranks highest in that regard, but mainly just because of the freezer. But ironically, the literal war zone is the best, simply because of the infinitely spawning marines. And we can even survive in underground tunnels better than in the science labs. There is, however, a correlation between map size and survivability. The longer a chapter, the more likely it is to have important resources, regardless of setting. And even if one area is super bad, we can just go somewhere else. Dirty places also didn't necessarily rank lower either, quite the opposite. The cleanest areas, like the science labs, were often the deadliest because they lack water. External factors like radiation, atmosphere and lack of ways to fight enemies can also be the end of us. It's great to have lots of food and water, but if we can't get to it, it does nothing for us. Overall, the best possible place to survive in is one that's fairly large, doesn't have much technology, contains free roaming creatures to kill, and even has some water holes here and there. Oh god damn it, we just invented the outdoors again. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little thought experiment. As I said before, I'm obsessed with this topic lately, so you're going to see more like this soon. Let me know if you're interested in that. And of course, tell me your own theories. Maybe you can survive in Zen. Maybe the radioactive waste is actually Mountain Dew. I'd love to hear it. And if you've liked the video, then show me that by leaving a like, a comment, by subscribing, and even by donating to my Patreon. Anything is appreciated. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And goodbye.